We have a key race alert on the very first presidential votes of 2024. Let's take a look. In Kentucky, Donald Trump is in the lead with 64.8% of the vote. Kamala Harris bringing up the rear with 34% of the vote. Donald Trump is 13,231 votes ahead of Harris. That's with 2% of the estimated vote in from the Commonwealth of Kentucky. In the state of Indiana, Donald Trump in the lead there as well, 71.8% to Kamala Harris's 26.8%. He's 1,604 votes in the lead. That's just a few votes there out of Indiana and Kentucky. And we're back. We have another key race alert for you. More votes coming in from the states of Indiana and Kentucky. In Indiana, Donald Trump is in the lead, 62.5% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 36.4% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 43,417 vote lead. That's with an estimated 5% of the vote in. In the Commonwealth of Kentucky, Donald Trump in the lead there as well, with 65.9% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 32.9% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 17,717 vote lead. That's with an estimated 3% of the vote. And we're standing by for the first big round of poll closing coming up at the top of the hour. But right now, more early votes are coming in. We have a key race alert. Let's take a look at the actual votes here from Indiana. Donald Trump in the lead, 58.1% of the vote. Kamala Harris in second place, 40.6% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 53,428 vote lead. That's with 10% of the estimated vote in from the state of Indiana. On to Commonwealth Kentucky. Donald Trump in the lead there, 66.4% of the vote. Kamala Harris in second there with 32.4% of the vote. Donald Trump up there. His lead is 31,523 votes. That's with 4% of the estimated vote in. All right, and we are just moments away from the first big round of poll closings. Voting's about to end in 6 states, 6 with a total of 60 electoral votes at stake. Keep an eye on the pivotal battleground of Georgia, as most voting is ending there right now. And CNN can bring you a projection now. CNN projects that Kentucky goes to Donald Trump. Donald Trump will win the Commonwealth of Kentucky with its 8 electoral votes. And CNN can also project that Vermont will go to Kamala Harris with its 3 electoral votes. Kamala Harris wins the state of Vermont. It is too early to project in Georgia, Indiana, South Carolina, and Virginia. Let's take a look at the electoral map now to see where the candidates stand. 270 electoral votes are needed to win. Donald Trump has 8. Kamala Harris has 3 electoral votes. Let's bring you a key race alert now. Indiana. Donald Trump in the lead there with 60.3% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 38.1% of the vote. Donald Trump has an 86,829 vote lead. That's with an estimated 13% of the vote in. And we can bring you another CNN projection. CNN projects that Indiana will go to Donald Trump. Indiana, with its 11 electoral votes, will go to Donald Trump. Let's look at the electoral map now to see where the candidates stack up. Remember, 270 needed to win. Donald Trump has 19 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 3 electoral votes. They both still have a lot of electoral votes to get up to 270. Let's do a key race alert for you now. In Florida, Donald Trump is in the lead with 51.3% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 47.7% of the vote. Donald Trump has a 138,912 vote lead. I'm sorry, that just went up, a 224,914 vote lead. The votes are coming in as I do this. That's with more than a third, 35% of the estimated vote in from Florida, with its big fat packet of 30 electoral votes. The Commonwealth of Virginia, slightly more competitive. Donald Trump in the lead right now with 58.7% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 40.6% of the vote. That's only with a handful of votes in as of right now, about 1,500 votes. As we stand by for results from the crucial state of Georgia, we are counting down to the end of voting in the battleground state of North Carolina. This historic election night is just getting started. Stay with us. Welcome back, and we're standing by for the end of voting in yet another crucial battleground state. Let's check the fight for the electoral vote so far. Donald Trump has 19 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 3 electoral votes, 270 electoral votes needed to win. And now we have a key race alert. In the state of Georgia, Donald Trump is in the lead with 51% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 48.5% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 4,556 vote lead. That's with only an estimated 3% of the vote in. The polls just closed at 7. In the state of Florida, Donald Trump in the lead, his new home state, 53.2% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 45.9% of the vote. Donald Trump with a healthy 438,912 vote lead. That's with half of the vote in, 50% of the estimated vote. In the Commonwealth of Virginia, Donald Trump in the lead there with 58.5% of the vote. Kamala Harris with 40.5% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 2,871 vote lead. Still a lot of votes to come in from the Commonwealth of Virginia. All right, and we're coming up on another critical round of poll closings in the Harris-Trump presidential race just moments from now. That's when voting ends in the battleground state of North Carolina, as well as in Ohio and West Virginia. A total of 37 electoral votes are up for grabs right now. And CNN can make a projection that Donald Trump will win the state of West Virginia. West Virginia and its 4 electoral votes going to Donald Trump. Too early to call, too early to make a projection in battleground North Carolina with its 16 electoral votes, or in Ohio with its 17 electoral votes. Let's take a look at the electoral map at this hour now that we've called a state for Donald Trump. Donald Trump has 23 electoral votes in the lead of Kamala Harris, who has 3 electoral votes. 270 electoral votes are needed to win the race. Both are far from that. Let's bring you a key race alert now in the battleground state of Georgia. Donald Trump in the lead with 58.1% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 41.4% of the vote. Donald Trump, 69,586 votes ahead. That's with only an estimated 8% of the vote in the state of Georgia. In the Commonwealth of Virginia, Donald Trump in the lead there with 49.6% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 48.8% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 948 vote lead. Only 2% of the vote has come in from the Commonwealth of Virginia. We have 2 more states to show you now. Florida, Donald Trump in the lead there with 53.5% of the vote. Kamala Harris with 45.5% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 586,779 vote lead. That's with most of the vote in, a majority of the vote, 64% of the vote in the state of Florida with its 30 electoral votes. In New Hampshire, Kamala Harris in the lead there with 58.7% of the vote. Donald Trump has 40.8% of the vote. Kamala Harris has a 5,513 vote lead. That's with only an estimated 4% of the vote. All right, now to Boris Sanchez, who was our first projection of the night in the fight for control of the U.S. Senate. Boris.
Jake, a major projection to bring you. In their quest to take control of the U.S. Senate, Republicans have their first expected pickup, and it comes from West Virginia. A former 2-term governor, Jim Justice, the Republican in this race, is projected to defeat the mayor of Wheeling, West Virginia, Glenn Elliott. Justice, a former Democrat, now expected to take control of the seat held by retiring Democrat-turned-independent Senator Joe Manchin as he now retires. Kind of gives you an idea of where West Virginia is headed politically, so this is no surprise, but it is significant for the math. Justice, a MAGA acolyte known for taking his 4-year-old English bulldog everywhere with him, it appears that Baby Dog and Justice are now headed to the U.S. Senate. So what does this mean for the magic number? Republicans started out the night needing control of 2 Democratic seats to take the upper chamber. Now that number is down to 1, and they are currently leading in one race where Democrats hold a seat. Let's get you some key race alerts now and show you exactly where that is on the map. We start with Ohio, still very early there, but Colombian-born businessman Bernie Moreno is leading Democratic incumbent Senator Sherrod Brown, seeking his 4th term, only by about 16,000 votes. Still very early, though, 3% of the vote in the state of Ohio. If you're a Democrat and you're looking at the map, you're looking for opportunities to pick up a Republican seat. One of their best opportunities in the Sunshine State of Florida. Rick Scott got elected by winning only about a 10,000 vote margin over his previous opponent back in 2018. Right now, he's 715,000 votes ahead of former Democratic Congresswoman Debbie Murkisell-Powell. Still a lot of votes to count, but this is with 60% of the vote in the state of Florida. So stepping back, looking at the raw numbers, what does this mean for the balance of power in the U.S. Senate? Democrats hold 28 seats, Republicans 40. With that one important pickup in West Virginia, 32 seats remain up for grabs, Jake. You need 51 for control of the chamber.
All right, Boris, thanks so much. Let me bring you a CNN key race alert right now. In North Carolina, Kamala Harris is in the lead with 68% of the vote. Donald Trump has 30.8% of the vote. Kamala Harris, as of this hour, has a 41,599 vote lead. That's with only an estimated 2% of the vote in from the big battleground of North Carolina with its 16 electoral votes. In battleground Georgia, Donald Trump in the lead with 60.6% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 38.9% of the vote. Donald Trump, as of this hour, with a 109,841 vote lead. That's with an estimated 9% of the vote in from that key battleground state of Georgia and its 16 electoral votes. In the Commonwealth of Virginia, Kamala Harris has 59.7% of the vote. Donald Trump, 38.8% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 105,065 vote lead. That's with an estimated 11% of the vote in from the Commonwealth of Virginia with its 13 electoral votes. We expect more votes to come in from key battlegrounds at any time, and we're going to soon get the first results from a third high-stakes presidential battleground, the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Voting ends in the Commonwealth just a few minutes from now. We're going to talk to you on the other side of the break. Stay with us. It's 7:43 p.m. on the East Coast, and we're heading into one of the busiest hours of this election night. Here's where the race to 270 electoral votes stands right now. Donald Trump has 23 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 3 electoral votes, both of them far from the 270 needed to win. But we have some new results to share. So here's a key race alert. In battleground Georgia, Donald Trump in the lead with 62.7% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 36.8% of the vote. Donald Trump with a healthy 166,655 vote lead. That's with 13% of the estimated vote in. Still a lot of votes to be counted in Georgia. In battleground North Carolina, Kamala Harris has 67.5% of the vote. Donald Trump has 31.4% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 40,929 votes ahead of Donald Trump, but it's still very early. 2% of the estimated vote is in. Still a lot of votes to count in North Carolina. In the Commonwealth of Virginia, Kamala Harris has 58.2% of the vote. Donald Trump has 40.3% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 121,029 vote lead. It's still very early, only 15% of the estimated vote in from the Commonwealth of Virginia. In Florida, Donald Trump in the lead, 54.3% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 44.7%. Donald Trump with a healthy 822,987 vote lead. That's with an estimated 71% of the estimated vote in from Florida. In Ohio, Donald Trump with 56.7% of the vote. Kamala Harris with 42.5% of the vote. Donald Trump has a 31,716 vote lead. It's still very early in Ohio, only 4% of the estimated vote in. In New Hampshire, Kamala Harris in the lead, 58.7% of the vote. Donald Trump has 40.8% of the vote. Kamala Harris has a 10,020 vote lead. Still very early in New Hampshire, only 7% of the estimated vote in the Granite State. Indeed, voting is about to end in 16 states and the District of Columbia, the biggest round of poll closings all night. A whopping 171 electoral votes at stake, including 19 in Pennsylvania, the battleground that could decide the presidential election. And let's bring you some CNN projections. CNN projects that Donald Trump will win the state of Florida with its 30 electoral votes, as expected. Donald Trump, CNN projects, will win the state of Tennessee, as expected, with its 11 electoral votes. Missouri will go to Donald Trump. Missouri, as expected, will give Donald Trump 10 electoral votes. Here are 2 more projections for Trump. Alabama, CNN can project, will go to Donald Trump with its 9 electoral votes. And Oklahoma, CNN projects, will go to Donald Trump with its 7 electoral votes. We have some projections for Kamala Harris as well. CNN projects that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, with its 11 electoral votes, as expected, will go to Kamala Harris. CNN can project that Maryland, as expected, with its 10 electoral votes, will go to Kamala Harris. And CNN can project that the District of Columbia, with its 3 electoral votes, can go to Kamala Harris. Here are the states where the polls just closed, where we are not prepared to make a projection. They include Connecticut, Delaware, Illinois, Maine, Mississippi, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island. No projection in any of those states. Here is the electoral vote count at this hour. Donald Trump has 90 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 27 electoral votes. 270 are needed to win. Neither of them has approached that number yet. Key race alert for you now in the big battlegrounds. North Carolina, Kamala Harris is in the lead there with 51.8% of the vote. Donald Trump has 47.2% of the vote. Kamala Harris with an 11,000 plus vote lead. That's with only 5% of the estimated vote counted. Still a lot of votes to count in North Carolina. In battleground Georgia, Donald Trump in the lead with 54.8% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 44.6% of the vote. That's with a third of the vote in Georgia. That's 33% of the estimated vote. In the Commonwealth of Virginia, Kamala Harris in the lead with 54.2% of the vote. Donald Trump has 43.9% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a healthy 115,000 plus vote lead. That's with a quarter of the vote counted in the Commonwealth of Virginia, 25%. In New Hampshire, Kamala Harris has 55.7% of the vote. Donald Trump has 43.7% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 9,517 vote lead. That's with only a tenth, 10% of the estimated vote counted in the state of New Hampshire. In Ohio, Kamala Harris in the lead there, 54.5% of the vote. Donald Trump has 44.7% of the vote. Kamala Harris has a 144,000 plus vote lead in Ohio. That's with a quarter, 25% of the estimated vote in the state of Ohio. All right, John King, thanks so much. And we have a key race alert for you now. We're getting some votes in from 2 key battlegrounds. In the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Kamala Harris in the lead with 77.6% of the vote. Donald Trump has 21.5% of the vote. Harris with a 187,924 vote lead. But it is very, very early. It's only 5% of the estimated vote has been counted in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania with its big fat packet of 19 electoral votes. In battleground Michigan, Kamala Harris in the lead with 76.7% of the vote. Donald Trump with 22.1% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 62,597 vote lead. Again, very, very early. Only 2% of the estimated vote in the battleground Michigan with its big packet of 15 electoral votes. All right, John, let's go to Boris Sanchez now for new projections in the fight for control of the U.S. Senate. Boris?
Yeah, Jake, a handful of projections to bring you right now. All of them holds for the incumbent party. Let's start with the Sunshine State of Florida. There, incumbent Senator Rick Scott, the Republican, will defeat Democratic Congresswoman, former Congresswoman Debbie Merkersell-Powell. Scott winning a second term in the Sunshine State. Meantime, in Tennessee, the first all-female Senate race in the volunteer state's history, incumbent Republican Marsha Blackburn will win her second term, defeating Gloria Johnson, a state lawmaker. Meantime, in Indiana, Congressman Jim Banks, he will defeat Democrat Valerie McRae, a clinical psychologist. This is for the open seat left by retiring Senator Mike Braun, who's now running for governor. Let's show you some Democratic holds beginning in the Northeast with the state of Massachusetts. There you have incumbent Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren seeking her third term in office. The former presidential candidate is expected to defeat John Deaton, a best-selling author and cryptocurrency advocate. Staying in the Northeast, another projection to bring you for Democrats in the state of Connecticut. There, incumbent Democratic Senator Chris Murphy will win his third full term in office as he defeats Matthew Corey, a bar owner / teamster who's run for statewide office now 5 times. The 5th time, not the charm for him. Murphy wins re-election in Connecticut. Meantime, a projection to bring you from Rhode Island. There, incumbent Democratic Senator Sheldon Whitehouse seeking his 4th term in office. He's projected to defeat Patricia Morgan, a Democratic member, or rather a Republican member of the state House. And now, in Vermont, the longest-serving independent in congressional history, Senator Bernie Sanders, an independent who caucuses with Democrats, is expected to win his 4th term as he defeats Gerald Malloy, a business executive. So what do all those projections mean for the magic number, the number that Republicans need to pick up in order to take control of the upper chamber. With the one pickup in West Virginia, they started out the night at 2. Now it's at 1, and they are currently leading, still early, but they are currently leading in 0 races where Democrats hold seats. Let's take a look at some key race alerts now and get you live updates, live results as they are coming into CNN, beginning with the state of Texas. This is a welcome sign for Democrats. It is still early, but right now, Democratic Congressman Colin Allred from the Dallas area has about a 31,000 vote lead over Republican incumbent Ted Cruz, who's seeking his 3rd term in office. Of course, Democrats love to see this, but it is still early, and this could present one of the few opportunities for Democrats to pick up a Republican seat. We just got an update now. His lead up to 14,000 votes with 18% of the vote in the Lone Star State. Let's get you an update from Pennsylvania. Here, incumbent Democratic Senator Bob Casey, seeking his 4th term in office. He's currently leading against the CEO of one of the largest hedge funds in the world, former CEO, I should say, Dave McCormick. Casey right now with a 223,000 vote lead. Still very early, though, 6% of the vote in, and it just updated. A 222,000 vote lead now for Casey with 6% of the vote in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. An update for you. One of the closest races we are expecting tonight coming from Michigan. There, Democratic Congresswoman Elissa Slotkin, 60,000 votes ahead of former Republican Congressman Mike Rogers. This is for the open seat left by retiring Democratic Senator Debbie Stabenow, 3% of the vote in the Wolverine state of Michigan. So, looking at the balance of power for the U.S. Senate, these are the raw numbers. Democrats hold 32 seats, Republicans 42 with that one important pickup in West Virginia, but 26 seats remain up for grabs. It's an open contest right now in the U.S. Senate. You need 51 seats to control that chamber, Jake.
All right, Boris, thanks so much. We're awaiting more votes in the crucial presidential battlegrounds of Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. We're watching those very early votes from Michigan as well. We're also looking ahead to 9 p.m. Eastern when all voting is going to end in Michigan and another blue wall battleground state, Wisconsin. Voting also ends soon in the key western swing state of Arizona. More votes, more suspense when Election Night in America continues after this quick break. It is 8:21 p.m. in the East Coast, and we are getting deeper into this election. Let us take a key race alert right now. Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Kamala Harris in the lead there with 72% of the vote. Donald Trump has 26.9% of the vote. Harris has a 240,000-plus vote lead, but it's early. Only 8% of the estimated vote has come in from Pennsylvania. In Michigan, Kamala Harris in the lead there with 61.1% of the vote. Donald Trump with 37.1% of the vote. Harris with a 58,000-plus vote lead. Still early there as well. Only 4% of the estimated vote has come in from Michigan. In battleground Georgia, Donald Trump in the lead with 55% of the vote. Kamala Harris with 44.4% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 275,000-plus vote lead. That's with almost half the vote in, 48% of the estimated vote in from battleground Georgia. In battleground North Carolina, Kamala Harris in the lead there with 52.1% of the vote. Donald Trump with 46.5% of the vote. Harris has a 36,000-plus vote lead. That's with only 11% of the estimated vote in from North Carolina. It is still very early in North Carolina. In the Commonwealth of Virginia, Harris in the lead there, 51% of the vote. Donald Trump has 47.2% of the vote. Harris with a 58,000 vote or so lead. That's with more than a third of the vote in from Commonwealth Virginia, 34% of the estimated vote. John King? That's right. I have a projection now. CNN has a projection. And CNN can project that South Carolina will go to Donald Trump. South Carolina, as expected, to the Republican with 9 electoral votes. Let's take a look at how that affects the electoral map. Donald Trump in the lead with 99 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 27 electoral votes. There are 270 electoral votes needed to win. Neither of them are particularly close, though obviously Donald Trump in the lead. John? All right, John. Well, polls are about to close in deep red Arkansas, where 6 electoral votes are at stake. And CNN can project that Donald Trump will win the state of Arkansas as expected. Donald Trump will take home Arkansas's 6 electoral votes. Let's take a look at the electoral map count now. Donald Trump in the lead with 105 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 27 electoral votes. There are 270 electoral votes needed to win. Let's take a look at where there are states that have not been projected yet. In the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Kamala Harris has 71.2% of the vote. Donald Trump has 27.8% of the vote. Harris with a 238,000-plus vote lead. but it's early. Only 8% of the estimated vote has been in from Pennsylvania. In battleground Michigan, Kamala Harris has 57.6% of the vote. Donald Trump has 40.5% of the vote. Harris with a 50,000-plus vote lead. That's with 6% of the estimated vote in from Michigan. Still a lot of votes to be counted in Michigan. In battleground North Carolina, Harris in the lead there. 49.8% of the vote, but Donald Trump bringing up the rear, 48.9% of the vote. Harris has right now a approximately 7,200 vote lead. That's with 14% of the estimated vote in North Carolina counted. In battleground Georgia, Donald Trump in the lead with 55.4% of the vote. Kamala Harris bringing up the rear with 44% of the vote. Donald Trump with a healthy 322,000-plus vote lead. That's with more than half of the vote counted in Georgia. 53% of the estimated vote in Georgia counted. In the Commonwealth of Virginia, Kamala Harris in the lead with 50% of the vote. Donald Trump with 48.2% of the vote. Harris with a 30,000-plus vote lead. That's with more than a third, 39% of the estimated vote in from Virginia counted. In the state of New Hampshire, Kamala Harris in the lead, 54.1% of the vote. Donald Trump with 45.3% of the vote. Harris with a 13,000-plus vote lead. That's with an estimated 18% of the estimated vote out of New Hampshire counted. In Ohio, Donald Trump in the lead, 50.3% of the vote. Kamala Harris with 48.9% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 36,000-plus vote lead. That's with an estimated 41% of the estimated vote in from Ohio. And now we can make a projection in a closely watched race for governor. CNN can project that Democrat Josh Stein will be elected governor of North Carolina. Stein is the current attorney general. We are projecting that he will defeat his Republican opponent, Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, who had Donald Trump's endorsement. Robinson's history of controversy became a major issue in the race, including recently uncovered, shall we call them, inflammatory posts on a porn website from more than a decade ago. Again, CNN projects the Democrats will hold on to the governor's office in North Carolina, with Attorney General Josh Stein replacing the term-limited Governor Roy Cooper. 105 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 27 electoral votes. Obviously, 270 are needed to win. We are far from that. Obviously, Donald Trump still in the lead. But now let's bring you another key race alert. In North Carolina, battleground North Carolina, Donald Trump in the lead there. 52.2% of the vote. Kamala Harris with 46.6% of the vote. Donald Trump taking the lead there in the first time this night. Donald Trump has a 69,000-plus vote lead. That's with about a fifth of the vote in. 21% of the estimated vote in from battleground North Carolina. And battleground Michigan, Kamala Harris in the lead with 56.9% of the vote. Donald Trump has 41.2% of the vote. Kamala Harris currently has 59,000-plus more votes. That's with 7% of the estimated vote. It's still very early. In the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the all-important battleground, Kamala Harris in the lead there with 69.8% of the vote. Donald Trump has 29.3% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 323,000-plus vote lead, but that's only 11% of the estimated vote in. It's still very early in Pennsylvania. In battleground Georgia, Donald Trump in the lead, 55.6% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 43.8% of the vote. Donald Trump has currently a 339,000-plus vote lead. That's with more than half of the vote in battleground Georgia, 54% of the estimated vote in from Georgia. All right, John King, voting is about to end in 15 states, the second biggest wave of results this evening. 163 electoral votes will be up for grabs, and we're watching several crucial battlegrounds. CNN's going to bring you this projection right now. CNN projects that Texas will go to Donald Trump. The state of Texas, as expected, to Donald Trump with its big bucket of 40 electoral votes. CNN also projects that North Dakota will go to Donald Trump. As expected, North Dakota with its 3 electoral votes. 2 more for Trump now. CNN projects that South Dakota will go to Donald Trump. South Dakota, as expected, with its 3 electoral votes to Donald Trump. And CNN projects that Wyoming will go to Donald Trump. Wyoming with its 3 electoral votes. CNN is not making any projections in the following states that just closed their polls. Arizona, that's a big battleground. Colorado, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, battleground Michigan, Minnesota, Nebraska, New Mexico, New York, and battleground Wisconsin. Let's look at the electoral map now. Donald Trump has 154 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 27 electoral votes. 270 are needed to win. Let's bring you a key race alert now. In battleground Pennsylvania, Kamala Harris in the lead with 64.4% of the vote. Donald Trump has 34.7% of the vote. Kamala Harris in the lead there with 326,000 plus votes. Only an estimated 16% of the vote has been counted in Pennsylvania. In battleground Michigan, Kamala Harris in the lead, 54.8% of the vote. Donald Trump with 43.3% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 55,000 plus vote lead. That's with only an estimated 8% of the vote counted in Michigan. Still very early in Michigan. In battleground North Carolina, Donald Trump in the lead there now, 51.8% of the vote. Kamala Harris with 47.1% of the vote. Donald Trump with a more than 106,000 vote lead. That's with 39% of the estimated vote counted in battleground North Carolina. In battleground Georgia, Donald Trump in the lead there, 52.8% of the vote. Kamala Harris with 46.6% of the vote. Donald Trump has a healthy 221,000 plus vote lead. That's with an estimated 66% of the vote counted in Georgia. About 2/3 of the vote in Georgia has been counted. In the Commonwealth of Virginia, Donald Trump in the lead there now with 49.3% of the vote. Kamala Harris with 48.7% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 13,334 vote lead. That's with half the vote counted in the Commonwealth of Virginia, 50% counted there in Virginia. In the state of New Hampshire, Kamala Harris has 53.6% of the vote. Donald Trump has 45.7% of the vote. Kamala Harris in the lead there by roughly 16,000 votes. That's with about a quarter, 25% of the estimated vote counted in the granite state of New Hampshire. In Ohio, Donald Trump in the lead, 52.9% of the vote. Kamala Harris with 46.3% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 197,000 plus vote. That's with half the vote counted in Ohio, 50% of the vote counted in Ohio. All right, John King, and CNN can now bring you a new projection. CNN projects that Kamala Harris will win the state of Delaware. Delaware, as expected, will go to Kamala Harris with its 3 electoral votes, the small wonder state. Let's take a look at the electoral vote count. Donald Trump has 154 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 30 electoral votes. 270 electoral votes are needed to win. Let's bring you a key race alert now. In the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Kamala Harris has 60.4% of the vote. Donald Trump, 38.7% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 284,000 plus vote lead, 284,000 plus vote lead, with only an estimated 19% of the vote in, not even a fifth of the vote. Still a lot of votes to count in Pennsylvania. In battleground Michigan, Kamala Harris with 53.1% of the vote. Donald Trump has 44.9% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 46,000 plus vote lead. Only a tenth of the vote has been counted in Michigan, 10%. Still very early there. In North Carolina, Donald Trump in the lead with 51.9% of the vote. Kamala Harris with 46.9% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 119,000 plus vote lead. That's with 41% of the estimated vote counted in North Carolina. In battleground Georgia, Donald Trump in the lead there, 52.7% of the vote. Kamala Harris with 46.6% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 225,000 plus vote lead. That's with 69% of the estimated vote in Georgia. They're really counting the ballots in Georgia there. 69% of the estimated vote has been counted. In the Commonwealth of Virginia, Donald Trump still has his 49.5% lead, and now it's 49.4%. Kamala Harris has 48.6%. Donald Trump is 18,000 plus votes ahead of Kamala Harris right now, with more than half, 52% of the estimated vote counted in the Commonwealth of Virginia. In New Hampshire, Kamala Harris in the lead with 53.3% of the vote. Donald Trump has 46% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 17,000 plus vote lead. That's with more than a quarter, 28% of the estimated vote in the granite state of New Hampshire counted. In Ohio, Donald Trump still in the lead there, 53.9% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 45.2% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 275,000 plus vote lead. That's with more than half, 52% of the estimated vote counted in Ohio. John King. CNN can project that Illinois will go to Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, as expected, will win Illinois in its 19 electoral votes. CNN can also project that Rhode Island will go to Kamala Harris, as expected. Kamala Harris will get the 4 electoral votes from Rhode Island. So where are we on the electoral map as of right now? Donald Trump has 154 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 53 electoral votes. 270 are needed to win. Neither of them is within spitting distance of that. Let's take a look at the actual votes coming in from the battlegrounds that we have not projected. In battleground Pennsylvania, Kamala Harris in the lead, 57.5% of the vote. Donald Trump, 41.5% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 258,000 plus vote lead. That's with about a quarter, 23% of the estimated vote in Pennsylvania counted as of now. In battleground Michigan, Kamala Harris with 53.7% of the vote. Donald Trump with 44.3% of the vote. Harris with a 64,000 plus vote lead. That's with an estimated 12% of the vote counted in Michigan. Still very early in Michigan. In battleground North Carolina, Donald Trump in the lead. 50.7% of the vote. Harris with 48.1% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 75,000 plus vote lead. That's with more than half, 51% of the estimated vote counted in battleground North Carolina. In battleground Georgia, Donald Trump still holding on to his lead, 52.9% of the vote. Harris has 46.4% of the vote. Donald Trump right now with a 249,000 plus vote lead. Now it's a 255,000 vote lead. That's with an estimated 71% of the vote counted in battleground Georgia. In Virginia, Donald Trump in the lead as of now, 49.3% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 48.7% of the vote. Donald Trump is ahead by more than 15,000 votes. That's with more than half, 56% of the estimated vote, but still a lot of vote to come in the Commonwealth of Virginia. In New Hampshire, Harris with 53.4% of the vote. Donald Trump with 45.9% of the vote. Harris with an 18,000 plus vote lead. That's with under a third of the vote counted in New Hampshire. 30% of the estimated vote counted in New Hampshire. In Ohio, Donald Trump in the lead, 54.3% of the vote. Harris with 44.8% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 332,000 plus vote lead. That's with almost 60%, 58% of the estimated vote counted in the Buckeye state. Now let's go to John King. All right, John King, we have a projection for you now at home, you people at home. CNN can project that New York, as expected, will go to Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris will be the winner of the 28 electoral votes offered from the Empire State. Let's take a look at the electoral vote count now. Donald Trump in the lead, 154. Kamala Harris with 81. 270 are needed to win. Neither of them is there as of yet. Let's go to Abby Phillip. All right, John, as we stand by for the next poll closings at the top of the hour, here's an update on the race to 270. Donald Trump has 154 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 81 electoral votes. Obviously, 270 electoral votes are needed to win. Now, another key race alert. Let's go to the states where we have not called. Kamala Harris in the lead in Pennsylvania, 51.4% of the vote. Donald Trump has 47.7% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 88,000 plus votes of a lead, but it's about 35% of the vote that's been counted in Pennsylvania, about a third. Still a lot of vote to count in Pennsylvania. Michigan, Kamala Harris has 52% of the vote. Donald Trump has 46.1% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 49,000 plus vote lead. That's with only an estimated 15% of the vote counted in the battleground of Michigan. In Wisconsin, another battleground, Kamala Harris 52.2% of the vote. Donald Trump 46.1% of the vote. Harris with a 52,000 plus vote lead, but only 27% of the vote counted in Wisconsin. Still very early in Wisconsin. Battleground North Carolina, Donald Trump still in the lead there with 52.1% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 46.7% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 201,000 plus vote lead as of now. That's with 64% of the estimated vote counted in the battleground of North Carolina. In battleground Georgia, Donald Trump in the lead, 51.9% of the vote. Kamala Harris, 47.1% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 208,000 plus vote lead. That's with 79% of the estimated vote in Georgia counted. Still a lot of votes to count there, but a lot of votes have already counted. In the Commonwealth of Virginia, Donald Trump. In the Commonwealth of Virginia, Donald Trump has 49.5% of the vote. Kamala Harris, 48.6% of the vote. That is a 28,000 now vote lead with 63% of the vote counted. I am going to now bring you a projection. And CNN can project Louisiana will go to Donald Trump. Louisiana with its 8 electoral votes as expected to Donald Trump. Let's see what that impact is on the electoral vote count. Donald Trump has 162 votes, electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 81 electoral votes. She has exactly half. 270 votes are needed to win. That's right, John. And we're just moments away from another round of poll closings. Voting is about to end in 3 states, including the key battleground of Nevada. A total of 16 electoral votes are on the line right now. And CNN can project that Donald Trump will win the state of Montana. As expected, Trump gets Montana with its 4 electoral votes. CNN can also project that Donald Trump will win the state of Utah. As expected, Utah with its 6 electoral votes. Nevada is too early to call, a battleground state that Donald Trump has narrowly lost in the last 2 elections, but is making a big play for this election. Let's look at the electoral math right now. Donald Trump has 172 electoral votes. Kamala Harris with 81 electoral votes, 270 electoral votes needed to win. Neither of them is there yet. Let's look at the key races now. Pennsylvania, Kamala Harris, 49.9% of the vote. Donald Trump has narrowed her 20,000 plus vote lead. He's at 49.2% of the vote. More votes have come in from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. 43% of the estimated vote from Pennsylvania is in, and Kamala Harris right now has an 18,000 plus vote lead there. Kamala Harris in the lead in Michigan, 51.6% of the vote. Donald Trump has 46.5% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 46,000 plus vote lead. Still, only 16% of the estimated vote in Michigan has been counted. In battleground Wisconsin, Harris is at 49.8% of the vote. Donald Trump is at 48.4% of the vote. She has a 15,000 plus vote lead. That's with more than a third, 35% of the vote counted in Wisconsin. In battleground North Carolina, Donald Trump maintaining his lead. He has 52% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 46.8% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 196,000 plus vote lead. That is with 2/3, 66% of the estimated vote in North Carolina counted. In battleground Georgia, Donald Trump maintaining his lead, 51.9% of the vote. Kamala Harris, 47.1% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 208,000 plus vote lead. That's with 79% of the estimated vote in from the battleground state of Georgia. We're now getting an update on the vote in North Carolina. Let's go to John King, actually, right now. John King, what can you tell us? All right, John, and we have some projections for you now. CNN can project that Kamala Harris will win the state of Colorado. Colorado, as expected, will go Democratic with its 10 electoral votes. CNN can also project that Donald Trump will be the winner of Mississippi. As expected, Mississippi and its 6 electoral votes go to the Republican. Let's bring in the electoral map right now. Donald Trump in the lead, 178 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 91 electoral votes, 270 electoral votes, as always, needed to win. Let's take a look at the outstanding races right now. Arizona joins the map of key race alerts. Kamala Harris has 50% of the vote. Donald Trump has 49.2% of the vote. That is a 15,478 vote lead for Kamala Harris, with 49% of the estimated vote counted. Kamala Harris in Wisconsin, 49.9% of the vote. Donald Trump bringing up the rear, 48.5% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 19,910 vote lead. That's with 43% of the estimated vote counted in Wisconsin. Pennsylvania, Donald Trump in the lead there now, 50.3% of the vote in Pennsylvania. Kamala Harris has 48.7% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 58,648 lead right now with an estimated 51% of the vote in Pennsylvania. In Georgia, Donald Trump in the lead there, 51.8% of the vote. Kamala Harris, 47.2% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 204,640 vote lead. That's with 81% of the estimated vote in Georgia. In battleground Michigan, Kamala Harris in the lead, 51.1% of the vote. Donald Trump with 47% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 43,307 vote lead. That's with an estimated 19% of the vote in battleground Michigan. In battleground North Carolina, Donald Trump in the lead, 52.4% of the vote. Kamala Harris with 46.4% of the vote. Donald Trump with 253,752 more votes as of right now than Kamala Harris. That's with 72% of the estimated vote in. In New Mexico, Kamala Harris in the lead, 50.7% of the vote. Donald Trump with 47.6% of the vote. That means Harris has an 8,592 vote lead over Trump. That's with less than a third, 31% of the estimated vote in from New Mexico, still early in New Mexico. Kamala Harris takes the lead again in Virginia with 49.1% of the vote. Donald Trump with 49% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 1,118 vote lead. That's with 68% of the estimated votes in from Virginia. John, what do you want to talk about? All right, John, thanks so much. We have another projection. CNN can project that Donald Trump will win the state of Ohio. Ohio, as expected, will go to Donald Trump, Ohio with its 17 electoral votes. What does that mean for the electoral count map? Donald Trump has 195 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 91 electoral votes. 270 are needed to win. John King? All right, we have some projections right now. CNN can project that Iowa will go to Donald Trump as expected. Iowa and its 6 electoral votes will go to Donald Trump, CNN can project. CNN can also project that Kansas will go to Donald Trump. Kansas and its 6 electoral votes will go to Donald Trump. So that's 12 additional electoral votes for Donald Trump, who now has 207 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 91 electoral votes. There are 270 electoral votes needed to win. Donald Trump holding a sizable lead in the electoral vote as of now, but we are expecting more votes to drop in Democratic strongholds in key battleground states. We're also counting down to the next round of poll closings at 11 p.m. Eastern, when Democrats are expecting to claim a gold mine of electoral votes out west in California. That's all ahead. As we prepare for the next round of poll closings in about 15 minutes, let's take a look at the fight for electoral votes right now. As of right now, Donald Trump has 207 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 91 electoral votes. There are 270 needed to win. The results, of course, are still coming in, and we have a key race alert right now. In Arizona, Donald Trump is in the lead with 49.6% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 49.5% of the vote. Donald Trump with a narrow 1,046 vote lead with 51% of the estimated vote in from battleground Arizona. In battleground Wisconsin, Donald Trump is in the lead there with 49.3% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 49.1% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 4,004 up. That just increased. So to a 6,556 lead ahead of Kamala Harris with an estimated 55% of the vote in from Wisconsin. In Pennsylvania, Donald Trump maintaining his lead, 50.9% of the vote. Kamala Harris is 48.1% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 121,000 plus vote lead. That's with 61% of the estimated vote in from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. In Georgia, Donald Trump maintaining his lead with 51.2% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 48% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 153,980 vote lead with an estimated 86% of the vote in. In battleground Michigan, Kamala Harris in the lead. She has 52.5% of the vote. Donald Trump with 45.7% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a more than 102,000 vote lead. That's with 27% of the estimated vote in from battleground Michigan. In North Carolina, Donald Trump maintaining his lead. He has 50.7% of the vote. Kamala Harris with 47.9% of the vote. Donald Trump is 134,000 plus votes ahead with 84% of the estimated vote in the Tar Heel state. In Virginia, Kamala Harris still in the lead, 49.9% of the vote. Donald Trump has 48.3% of the vote. Kamala Harris is maintaining a 55,000 plus vote lead with 3/4 of the vote in there. In Virginia, 75% of the estimated vote. And then in New Mexico, Kamala Harris with 53.2% of the vote in the lead there. Donald Trump has 44.9% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 48,589 more votes than Donald Trump right now with an estimated 65% of the vote. Still about a third of the vote left to count in New Mexico. And Boris Sanchez has a new projection for us in the fight for control of the U.S. Senate. Boris?
Yeah, Jake, a handful of important projections to bring you, beginning with history being made in the state of Maryland. There, the executive of Prince George's County, Democrat Angela Alsobrooks, will defeat former 2-term Republican Governor Larry Hogan. She becomes the first African-American person ever elected to the Senate from the state of Maryland. Another projection to bring you, this one from the state of Delaware. Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester defeats Eric Hansen, a former Walmart executive, the Democrat here becoming the first woman and the first African-American person ever elected to the Senate from Delaware. A projection to bring you in the Northeast, this time in New York. There, incumbent Democratic Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, a former presidential candidate, she will win her third full term in office as she defeats former NYPD detective Mike Sapercone. Let's get you some updates on the Republican side, beginning with the Lone Star State of Texas. Going into the night, Democrats had optimism about potentially flipping this seat from red to blue instead. Republican incumbent Ted Cruz wins re-election, cruising to his third term against Democrat Colin Allred, a congressman from the Dallas area, a former Tennessee Titans middle linebacker. Cruz here winning by a substantial margin in the Lone Star State. An update now from Mississippi. There, incumbent Republican Roger Wicker wins his third full term, defeating civil rights attorney Ty Pickens. Re-election for Wicker in Mississippi. An update now from one of the reddest states in the country, Wyoming. There, incumbent Republican Senator John Barrasso wins his fourth term as he defeats Scott Morrow, a union official who touts his black belt in Taekwondo on his campaign website. Barrasso reelected in Wyoming. Some more projections to bring you, beginning in Missouri. There, incumbent Republican Senator Josh Hawley, perhaps best known for being the first senator to object to certifying the 2020 election results in favor of Joe Biden. He defeats Democrat Lucas Kunz to win re-election in Missouri. Meantime, in Nebraska, this special election, Pete Ricketts, a former governor there, he defeats Preston Love Jr., a former campaign manager for Jesse Jackson's presidential campaign in 1984. This is to serve out the term left by retired Republican Senator Ben Sasse. An update from North Dakota now. There, incumbent Republican Senator Kevin Cramer wins his second term, defeating engineering professor Katrina Christensen. Cramer reelected in North Dakota. So what do all these results mean for the magic number that Republicans need to take control of the U.S. Senate? Remember, they started out the night needing 2 Democratic seats to flip the chamber. Right now, that number with a pickup in West Virginia is 1. And currently, as of this moment, Republicans are leading in 4 races where Democrats hold seats. But hold on, because that needs some context. 2 of these states are fairly early. One of them is Montana, and that race is expected to be competitive, but the other one is Minnesota, in which we're not really expecting that close of a race tonight. And there's also potentially a twist. I'll explain that in just a moment as we take a look at some key race alerts. These are live results coming into CNN right now. In Pennsylvania, this race has been back and forth all night. Look at what separates the former CEO of a hedge fund, Dave McCormick, from incumbent Democratic Senator Bob Casey. 0.1 percentage points, 44,000 vote lead for McCormick, with 61% of the vote in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Meantime, the most expensive Senate race in the country, in history. Nearly $500 million spent on this race, and currently Colombian-born businessman Bernie Moreno leads incumbent Democrat Sherrod Brown with 261,000 votes, 84% of the vote in Ohio, where now Donald Trump has won the Buckeye State 3 times in a row. And this is the twist I was talking about before. No one expected this Senate race in Nebraska would be this close. You have Dan Osborne, an independent, who has not said which party he would caucus with. In fact, saying that he would caucus with neither party. Right now, he holds a 10,000, almost 11,000 vote lead over incumbent Republican Deb Fischer, 48% of the vote in there. If he wins, it could change the math a little bit for what Republicans need to take control of the Senate. Let's step back and give you a look at the balance of power. The raw numbers: Democrats hold 35 seats, Republicans 48, again with that 1 pickup of West Virginia. But there are 17 seats still up for grabs. You need 51 for control of the chamber, Jake.
Indeed. Voting is about to end in 4 states out west. That includes the biggest prize of all, California, which has 54 of the 78 electoral votes at stake this hour. And we have a projection for you now. CNN can project that Kamala Harris will win the state of California with those 54 electoral votes. Not unexpected. Harris will win California. CNN is also projecting that Donald Trump will win the state of Idaho with its 4 electoral votes. So what does that mean for the electoral? Too early to call. We have Washington State with 12 electoral votes and Oregon with 8 electoral votes. Too early to call. Let's go to the electoral map right now. Donald Trump with 211 electoral votes at this hour. Kamala Harris cracks 100, now has 145 electoral votes. 270 electoral votes are needed to win. Donald Trump is 59 electoral votes away from that. Let's look at these battleground states now. Arizona, Donald Trump in the lead there, 49.6%. Kamala Harris right behind him with 49.5%. Donald Trump has a 2,356 vote lead with 51% of the estimated vote in from Arizona. Wisconsin, Donald Trump in the lead there too, 49.9% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 48.4%. Donald Trump has a 28,576 vote lead with an estimated 59% of the estimated vote in from the Badger State. In the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Donald Trump maintaining his lead. He's at 50.7% of the vote. Kamala Harris with 48.2% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 119,411 vote lead, with 68% of the estimated vote in from Pennsylvania. In Georgia, Donald Trump still in the lead there, 51% of the vote. Kamala Harris with 48.2% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 136,328 vote lead. That is with 88% of the estimated vote in from the state of Georgia. In North Carolina, another battleground where Donald Trump leads, 50.8% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 47.8% of the vote. Donald Trump has a 145,388 vote lead over Kamala Harris right now, with an estimated 85% of the vote in from the Tar Heel state. In battleground Michigan, Kamala Harris in the lead. She has 51.3% of the vote. Donald Trump has 46.9%. Kamala Harris is 74,838 votes ahead of Donald Trump, but that's less than a third of the vote counted there. 30% of the estimated vote in from the state of Michigan. In the Commonwealth of Virginia, Kamala Harris in the lead there still, but narrowly so. 50.1% of the vote. Donald Trump has 48% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 73,375 vote lead. That is with 78% of the estimated vote in from the Commonwealth of Virginia. In New Mexico, Harris leads there too, 52.6% of the vote. Donald Trump with 45.5% of the vote. That is with an estimated 69% of the vote in. Harris with a roughly 43,000 vote lead. Indeed. And CNN can bring you a projection now. Folks at home, CNN projects that the state of Oregon will go to Kamala Harris. As expected, Oregon, with its 8 electoral votes, will go to the Democrat Kamala Harris. Let's take a look at the electoral map. Right now, Donald Trump has 211 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 153 electoral votes. 270 are needed to win. Let's take a look at the key races now. Arizona, Donald Trump in the lead there, 49.6% of the vote. Kamala Harris right behind him with 49.5% of the vote. Donald Trump with a roughly 3,000 vote lead. That's with 51% of the estimated vote in from the state of Arizona. In battleground Wisconsin, Donald Trump maintaining his lead, 50.4% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 48% of the vote. Donald Trump with a more than 50,000 vote lead right now, with 63% of the estimated vote in from the Badger State. In the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Donald Trump maintaining his lead, 51% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 47.9% of the vote. Donald Trump with more than 165,000 more votes than Kamala Harris, with more than 76% of the estimated vote in from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. In battleground Georgia, Donald Trump in the lead, 50.9% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 48.3% of the vote. Donald Trump has a more than 131,000 vote lead over Kamala Harris. That's with 90% of the estimated vote in. So they got 10% to go there in Georgia, but Donald Trump in the lead. In North Carolina, another battleground, Donald Trump still in the lead there with 50.7% of the vote. Kamala Harris with 47.9% of the vote. Donald Trump has a more than 138,000 vote lead over Kamala Harris, with an estimated 87% of the vote in. In battleground Michigan, Kamala Harris is in the lead, 50.2% of the vote. Donald Trump has 48% of the vote. Harris has a more than 40,000 vote lead over Donald Trump, with 1/3, 33% of the vote in there. John King? All right, John. Well, CNN has a major projection. CNN projects that Donald Trump will win the state of North Carolina. This is the first of 7 battleground states that we're keeping an eye on, and we are calling it for Donald Trump. What does that mean for the electoral count? Donald Trump now has 227 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 153. 270 are needed to the win. Yeah, very interesting. Let's bring you a key race alert and get you up to speed on where we are in all the states that we have not called. In battleground Pennsylvania, Donald Trump with 51.3%, Kamala Harris 47.6%. Donald Trump more than 212,000 votes ahead, with 82% of the estimated vote in from the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. In battleground Michigan, Donald Trump in the lead, 51.2%. Kamala Harris at 47%. Donald Trump at 98,014 votes ahead of Kamala Harris, with 41% of the estimated vote in from Michigan. In battleground Wisconsin, Donald Trump in the lead, 50.7%. to Harris's 47.7%. Donald Trump with a 68,000-plus vote lead over Harris, with 71% of the estimated vote in from the Badger State. In battleground Georgia, Donald Trump up 50.8% to Harris's 48.3%. Donald Trump with 128,582 more votes than Kamala Harris, with 92% of the estimated vote counted in the state of Georgia. In the state of Arizona, another battleground, Donald Trump in the lead there, 49.8% to Harris's 49.3%. Donald Trump with a 7,588 vote lead over Kamala Harris. That's with more than half, 52% of the estimated vote in. In Nevada, Donald Trump in the lead, 73%. Kamala Harris with 26.2%. Donald Trump with a 10,985 vote lead over Harris. That's with only 2% of the vote in from from Nevada, only 2%. Boris Sanchez now has some new projections in the fight for control of the U.S. Senate.
Jake, a major moment for Republicans. They have just flipped. They are expected to flip their second Democratic seat of the night, this one coming in Ohio. There, Republican Bernie Moreno defeating incumbent Democrat Sherrod Brown. Moreno, the owner of some luxury car dealerships who invested early in blockchain technology, fought to attach Brown to the Biden administration more broadly, specifically on issues like immigration. Sherrod Brown, a populist who had survived some difficult tests in his state before, cannot overcome the political headwinds he is facing. Donald Trump has now won Ohio 3 elections in a row, and it's simply too much for the incumbent Democrat to overcome. So we are projecting that Bernie Moreno is your new junior senator from the Buckeye State. Meantime, 4 Democratic holds. The first one, a historic one in New Jersey. There, Congressman Andy Kim is set to become the first Korean American ever to serve in the U.S. Senate. He defeats real estate tycoon Curtis Bashaw. Meantime, in Virginia, there, incumbent Democratic Senator Tim Kaine, a former vice presidential candidate, he's projected to defeat Hung Kao, a former Navy captain. Another Democratic hold to tell you about this one, Martin Heinrich, the incumbent senator there, seeking his 3rd term. He defeats Nella Dominici, whose father was the last Republican senator elected in New Mexico some 20 years ago. Another Democratic hold to project for you, this one coming in the state of Washington. There, Democratic incumbent Senator Maria Cantwell wins her 5th term as she defeats Raul Garcia, an ER doctor. Now, what does that pickup in Ohio mean for the magic number? We started out the night with Republicans needing to pick up 2 Democratic seats to take control of the chamber. With West Virginia and Ohio, they have hit 2, and now they're seeking to pad those numbers. Currently, as we speak, Republicans are leading in 4 seats currently held by Democrats. Let's get you an update on where those are right now with some key race alerts. These are live results coming into CNN. We start with the state of Wisconsin. There, the CEO of California-based SunWest Bank, Eric Hovde, is 29,000 votes ahead of Democratic incumbent Senator Tammy Baldwin, who's seeking her 3rd term in office, 70% of the vote. And we just got an update. The lead pretty much the same in Wisconsin for Hovde. In Pennsylvania, this has been going back and forth all night, but right now, the former CEO of one of the largest hedge funds in the world, Dave McCormick, currently leads incumbent Democratic Senator Bob Casey by about 120,000 votes. Still a very close race. This one also a very expensive one. 81% of the vote in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Now, a key race alert from the state of Michigan. This one has been close all night as well. Former Republican Congressman Mike Rogers currently leading current Democratic Congresswoman Alyssa Slotkin, 48,000 votes. Rogers ahead of Slotkin, 40% of the vote in the Wolverine state. So let's take a look at the balance of power in the U.S. Senate, the raw numbers. What does this mean? Democrats hold 40 seats. Republicans, with those 2 pickups, hold 49, 11 seats remaining to be determined. Jake, obviously you need 51 for control of the chamber.
All right, Boris, thanks so much. And CNN can make a projection. CNN projects that Washington State, as expected, will go to Kamala Harris. Washington State, with its 12 electoral votes, to the Democrat, Vice President Kamala Harris. Let's look at the electoral map right now. Donald Trump has 227 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 165 electoral votes. 270 are needed to win. We are waiting for more votes in the big 3 blue wall battlegrounds of Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin that both campaigns are watching very closely right now. A total of 6 top battlegrounds remain undecided as we get later into this election night. Stay right here for the next big rollout of votes. Right now, we're going to squeeze in a quick break. Stay with us. And CNN has another projection for you. CNN projects that Donald Trump will win 3 out of the 5 electoral votes from the state of Nebraska. Allow me a second to explain. Nebraska and Maine allocate their electoral votes partly in addition to the statewide 3 votes according to congressional district. That's already too complicated, probably. Anyway, put it this way. Donald Trump has won 3 out of the 5 electoral votes. The other 2, we do not know yet, but Donald Trump has 3 of the 5. That means 3 more electoral votes for Donald Trump. And what does that mean for the electoral map? Donald Trump has 230 electoral votes. He is 40 electoral votes away from winning. Kamala Harris has 165 electoral votes. She is 105 electoral votes away from winning. Let's see what the states that we have not called, where their vote counts are. Pennsylvania. Donald Trump is in the lead there with 51.2% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 47.7% of the vote. Donald Trump is ahead of her by more than 206,000 votes. That's with 83% of the estimated vote in. That's Pennsylvania. Battleground Michigan, Donald Trump up 51.3% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 46.9% of the vote. Donald Trump with a more than 111,000 vote lead with an estimated 44% of the vote in from Michigan. Wisconsin now, Donald Trump in the lead there too. 50.8% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 47.6% of the vote. Donald Trump almost 80,000 votes ahead of her with 3/4 of the vote, 74% of the estimated vote from the Badger State in. Battleground Georgia, Donald Trump is up 50.7%. Kamala Harris is 48.4%. Donald Trump more than 118,000 votes ahead of her with an estimated 93% of the estimated vote in. Arizona, Donald Trump ahead there too with 49.8% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 49.3% of the vote. He is more than 7,500 votes ahead of her right now, but they still have about 48% of the vote to count, 52% of the estimated vote in. In Nevada, Donald Trump is in the lead with 73% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 26.2% of the vote. Donald Trump has a more than 10,000 vote, almost 11,000 vote lead. That is with only 2% of the estimated vote in. All right, John King, thank you so much. Every electoral vote counts, and 4 more are on the line right now as polling places are about to close in Hawaii. And we project Kamala Harris will win the state of Hawaii with its 4 electoral votes. Not a surprise. Hawaii, a reliably Democratic vote. But that does mean a pickup of 4 electoral votes for Kamala Harris. Donald Trump has 230. He is 40 votes away from winning. Kamala Harris has 169 electoral votes. She is 101 votes away from the 270 needed to win. John King? All right, and we have a projection, John. CNN can project that Kamala Harris will win the Commonwealth of Virginia. Commonwealth of Virginia, with its 13 electoral votes, will go to the Democrat Vice President Kamala Harris. What does that mean for the electoral math? Let's take a look. With 270 electoral votes needed to win, Donald Trump is only 40 behind that with 230. Kamala Harris has 182 electoral votes. Let's bring you a key race alert. Where are we with all the states that we have not projected yet? Pennsylvania, Donald Trump in the lead. 51.3% of the vote. Kamala Harris, 47.6% of the vote. Donald Trump has a more than 213,000 vote lead over her with 84% of the estimated vote in from Pennsylvania. In battleground Michigan, Donald Trump up there, 51.2% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 47% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 107,294 vote lead over Harris. But there's still about 55% of the vote that has not been counted in Michigan. A lot of votes to count in Michigan. Wisconsin now, Donald Trump 51% of the vote, Kamala Harris 47.4%. Donald Trump with a more than 92,000 vote lead over Harris. That's with more than 3/4 of the votes counted in Wisconsin, 77% of the vote. In battleground Georgia, Donald Trump up 50.7% to Harris's 48.4%. Donald Trump with a 118,838 vote lead over Harris with 93% of the estimated vote in. In battleground Arizona, Donald Trump up 49.8% to Harris's 49.3%. Donald Trump with a 9,600 plus vote lead. That's with slightly more than half of the vote counted in Arizona, 52%. In Nevada, Donald Trump up 73% to Harris's 26.2% of the vote. Donald Trump with an almost 11,000 vote lead. But that is, again, with only 2% of the estimated vote in Nevada counted. Still a lot of votes to count in Nevada. John?
And I'm going to go to Jake for a major projection.
That's right. We have another major projection for you now. And CNN can project that Georgia will go to Donald Trump. Georgia, a very hotly contested battleground of 16 electoral votes. This is the second of 7 battleground states that we have called, and both of them have been for Donald Trump. Let's take a look at what that means for the electoral math. Donald Trump right now has 246 electoral votes. Kamala Harris right now has 182 electoral votes. There are 270 needed to win. It is election night in America, and let us bring you back to where we are right now with 270 electoral votes needed to win. Donald Trump is in the lead with 246. Kamala Harris is at 182. There are still 5 battleground states that remain uncalled by CNN. Let us go and look at where they are. Pennsylvania, Donald Trump in the lead with 50.8% of the vote. Kamala Harris with 48.1% of the vote. Donald Trump has a more than 165,000 vote lead. All right, thanks so much. And we're going to bring you a key race alert right now. Let's check in with the states that we have not projected. Pennsylvania, Donald Trump still in the lead there. 51.1% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 47.8%. Donald Trump with a more than 216,000 vote lead there, with 92% of the estimated vote coming in from the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Michigan now, the Wolverine state. Donald Trump, 52% of the vote. Kamala Harris, 46.1% of the vote. Donald Trump with a more than 203,000 vote lead, with 61% of the estimated vote in from Michigan. Wisconsin, that's the Badger state. Donald Trump, 51.1% of the vote. Kamala Harris with 47.3% of the vote. Donald Trump with a more than 110,000 vote lead, with an estimated 86% of the vote in from Wisconsin. Arizona now, Donald Trump in the lead there too, 49.9% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 49.2% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 12,242 vote lead there, a little bit more narrow, with 52% of the estimated vote in from Arizona. We are awaiting more votes from the outstanding presidential battlegrounds as this race goes into the night shift, and we expect to hear Donald Trump speak to his supporters very soon. We're going to squeeze in a quick break. We'll be right back. Stay here. And we have a projection for you now. CNN can project that Kamala Harris will win the state of New Mexico. New Mexico, as expected, will go to the Democrat, Vice President Kamala Harris. New Mexico with its 5 electoral votes. What does that bring us in terms of the math? Let us look. Donald Trump has 246 electoral votes. Kamala Harris, with the addition of New Mexico, has 187 electoral votes. There are 270 electoral votes, as always, needed to win. Let's look at the states we have not called yet. In Pennsylvania, Donald Trump in the lead there still, 51.1% of the vote, ahead of Kamala Harris, who has 47.8% of the vote. Trump leads with more than 214,000 votes. That's with an estimated 92% of the vote in. Michigan now, Donald Trump in the lead, 52.1% of the vote. Kamala Harris, 46% of the vote. Donald Trump with a more than 215,000 vote lead. That's with 62% of the estimated vote in from the Wolverine state. The Badger state of Wisconsin now, Donald Trump, 51.2% of the vote. Kamala Harris, 47.2% of the vote. Donald Trump, more than 113,000 votes ahead of Harris, with an estimated 86% of the vote in from Wisconsin. In Arizona now, Donald Trump in the lead there too, 49.9% of the vote. Harris with 49.2% of the vote. Donald Trump with a more than 12,000 vote lead. That's with only 52% of the estimated vote in from Arizona. Still a lot of votes to count in Arizona. Nevada now, they've really counted a lot of votes. Donald Trump, 50.9% of the vote. Kamala Harris, 47.6% of the vote. Donald Trump with a more than 33,000 vote lead. That is with 70% of the estimated vote in from Nevada. Last time we looked, it was only 2%. John King, look at that. Your buddies in Nevada reporting their votes there. Thanks so much. We have a major projection in the battle for control of Congress. And CNN can now project that Republicans will win back control of the United States Senate. We can make this projection because CNN projects Republicans win the U.S. Senate seat in Nebraska. The GOP picking up enough seats to reclaim the majority that they lost 4 years ago. This is a huge victory for Donald Trump's party, as we're still waiting the final outcome of the presidential race. Thanks, Dan. Let's bring you back to the key race alert and where we stand with the battleground states that we have not called yet. Pennsylvania, Donald Trump in the lead, 51.1%. Kamala Harris is 47.8%. Donald Trump has an almost 220,000 vote lead. That's with 93% of the estimated vote in from the great Keystone State. Michigan, Donald Trump up 52.4% to Harris's 45.8%. Donald Trump with a more than 244,000 vote lead in Michigan with 66% of the estimated vote in. In Wisconsin, Donald Trump, 51.2%. Harris, 47.1%. Donald Trump with a more than 120,000 vote lead with an estimated 89% of the vote in from the Badger State of Wisconsin. Arizona, Donald Trump in the lead, 50% to Harris's 49.1%. Donald Trump has a 16,000-plus vote lead with an estimated 53% of the vote in from Arizona. In Nevada, Donald Trump in the lead there, 51% to Kamala Harris's 47.4%. Donald Trump with a more than 37,000 vote lead with 70% of the estimated vote in from Nevada. John King. It's election night in America, and forget the pundits and forget the polls. It is time to count votes. Let's take a look at where we are in the electoral math. Donald Trump has 246 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 187 electoral votes. 270 are needed to win. There are still a number of states that are outstanding. Let's bring them to you now. Pennsylvania. Donald Trump, 50.9% of the vote. Harris, 48%. Donald Trump with a more than 189,000 vote lead with 94% of the estimated vote in the Commonwealth. Michigan, Donald Trump, 52.1. Harris, 46.1. Donald Trump with a more than 236,000 vote lead, 69% of the estimated vote in from Michigan. Wisconsin, Donald Trump, 51.3. Kamala Harris, 47.1. Donald Trump with a more than 123,000 vote lead, 90% of the estimated vote in from the Badger State of Wisconsin. Arizona, Donald Trump 50%, Harris 49.1%. Donald Trump with a 16,368 vote lead with 53% of the estimated vote in from Arizona. Nevada, now Donald Trump 51.1%, Harris 47.3%. Donald Trump with a more than 38,000 vote lead over Harris with an estimated 71% of the estimated vote. I have two more I want to show you right now because, as you know, Maine and Nebraska award their electoral votes according to congressional district. Maine's second congressional district, that is the more rural part of the district, Donald Trump is in the lead there, 53.9% of the vote. Harris, 43.9% of the vote. Donald Trump with a almost 14,000 vote lead there in Maine's second congressional district. That's with just over a third of the estimated vote there. Then Nebraska, this is actually the congressional district number one, not the more competitive one. But in this one, which has not been called yet, Donald Trump has 51.5% of the vote. Harris with 46.7% of the vote. Donald Trump with an 11,311 vote lead there. That's with 75% of the estimated vote in Nebraska's District 1. Nebraska's District 2, though, we should note, John, is actually the one that we're really keeping an eye on. It is election night in America, and Americans have voted, and the votes are being counted. Let's look at the electoral vote math right now. Donald Trump has 246 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 187 electoral votes. Obviously, 270 electoral votes are needed to win. So let's look at those states that remain outstanding. Pennsylvania, outstanding in so many ways. Donald Trump has 50.9% of the vote. Kamala Harris, 48% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 193,000 vote lead there, with an estimated 95% of the vote counted in that great Commonwealth. In Michigan, the Wolverine State, Donald Trump 52.2%, Kamala Harris 45.9%. Donald Trump with a 253,000 plus vote lead with 71% of the estimated vote in the great state of Michigan. In Wisconsin now, Donald Trump 51.3%, Kamala Harris 47.2%. Donald Trump leading by more than 121,000 votes with an estimated 90% of the vote counted in Wisconsin. John King, those are the three blue wall states They remain uncalled as of now, but Donald Trump leads in all three. Thank you so much. And we have a major projection. CNN projects that Donald Trump will win the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. This is a huge achievement for Donald Trump and a huge bucket of electoral votes, 19 of them, for his path back to the presidency. As of right now, with those 19 electoral votes added from Pennsylvania, Donald Trump is within spitting distance of 270 electoral votes. He has 265 electoral votes. Vice President Kamala Harris has 187 electoral votes. 270 are needed to win. John King, Donald Trump is within a hair's breadth of being reelected president. All right, stand by for a projection because CNN can now project that Kamala Harris will get that one electoral vote from Omaha. Nebraska gives its electoral votes. According to congressional district, Kamala Harris will get one of them. Donald Trump will get another one of them. Of the five, let's look at the electoral map. Donald Trump now has 266 electoral votes because we just gave him one from Nebraska's, I think, first congressional district. Kamala Harris has 188 because we just gave her one from Nebraska's second congressional district. 270 are needed to win. Donald Trump needs only 4 more electoral votes in order to be the president. Dana?
And that reason was to save our country and to restore America to greatness. And now we are going to fulfill that mission together. We're going to fulfill that mission.
It's an historic election night with Donald Trump poised to win back the White House. Let's take a look at where the electoral vote count stands right now. Donald Trump has 266 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 195 electoral votes. The magic number, obviously, 270 needed to win. Donald Trump is 4 short of that. So let's look at the states, the battleground states that we have not called yet. Michigan, Donald Trump 52.6%, Kamala Harris 45.6%. Donald Trump a 320,916 vote lead. That's with 81% of the estimated vote in from the Wolverine State. In Wisconsin, Donald Trump 51.1%, Kamala Harris 47.3%. Donald Trump with a 120,903 vote lead in a state with 94% of the estimated vote reported in. In Arizona, Donald Trump 50.4%, Kamala Harris 48.7%. Donald Trump with a 31,223 vote lead. That's with an estimated 54% of Arizona's vote reported in. Nevada, Donald Trump 51.5%, Kamala Harris 46.8%. Donald Trump with a 51,805 vote lead with 76% of the estimated vote in.
Donald Trump now 266 electoral votes, just 4 shy of the 270 needed for him to return to the White House. There's another battle going on in Washington, the fight for control of the House of Representatives. Boris Sanchez is looking at the current balance of power there. Boris?
Yeah, Jake, 2 important projections to bring you 2 flips in crossover districts, beginning with the 22nd House District in New York. This is up in upstate New York in the Syracuse area, a district that 4 years ago Joe Biden won. Democrat John Mannion defeating Republican incumbent Brandon Williams to take that seat, and we anticipate flip it for Democrats. The opposite happening in Pennsylvania's 8th district. This is in the Scranton area, a district that Donald Trump won, one that Democratic incumbent Matt Cartwright was the representative for, but now Rob Bresnahan, who had never held public office in his life, he's a business executive. He is now projected to win that seat in the House of Representatives. So what does this mean for the magic number, the number that Democrats need to take control of the chamber? As you can see, Democrats have to pick up 7 Republican seats. They are currently leading in 9 races where Republicans hold seats. But the math starts to get a little bit complicated there because keep in mind, there are districts where Republicans are leading in races where Democrats hold seats. So if you do some math, while it appears that it's trending in Democrats' direction, they may come up short if this trend continues. Let's get you an update on some key race alerts now. These are results coming into CNN as we're getting them. In New York's 19th district, this is in the Ithaca area. Josh Riley, a Democratic attorney, is currently about 3,600 votes in front of freshman Republican incumbent Mark Molinaro, 94% of the vote in that New York district. Another one to tell you about, this one on Long Island, another district Joe Biden won 4 years ago. Laura Gillen, a town supervisor in House District 4, is currently leading Republican incumbent Anthony D'Esposito, former NYPD officer, by roughly 6,148 votes, 92% of the vote in this district. Looking at the first House district in Arizona, this is the northern suburbs of Phoenix. You have Amish Shaw, the Democrat in this race, an ER doctor, a slim margin, 742 votes ahead of incumbent Republican David Schweikert. Obviously, still a close race there, 56% of the vote in. Now, let's get you some more key races where Republicans are leading. Let's take a look, beginning with the state, or rather the district in Pennsylvania in the Lehigh Valley area. This is House District 7. You have Ryan McKenzie leading Democratic incumbent Susan Wild by roughly 5,500 votes, 99% of the vote in there. It looks like it's trending in Republicans' direction. In Michigan, House District 7, Tom Barrett leading by 17,000 votes against Curtis Hurdle, 97% of the vote there in the 7th district. This is in the Lansing area. This is actually the district that's got an open seat because Alyssa Slotkin is running for Senate. Keep your eyes on this one. Meantime, a key race alert from Alaska. Nick Begich, the Republican in this race, leading the Democratic incumbent Mary Peltola. She's a freshman who's actually the first Native Alaskan ever voted to Congress. This is a ranked choice, sort of open format in Alaska, so you'll see her going up against a fellow Democrat. But right now, Begich, 5,800 votes ahead, 55% of the vote in this at-large district, obviously Alaska a state that Donald Trump won. So what does all this mean for the balance of power in the House of Representatives? The raw numbers right now, 169 for Democrats with 1 pickup, 197 for Republicans with 4 pickups, 69 seats remaining up for grabs. Anderson, as you know, 218 needed for control of the chamber.
I'm a little worried about how Democrats are going to react. They've been told Trump is a modern-day Hitler, or at least he's a fascist. And now Kamala Harris, I suspect, is going to have to wake up in the morning and concede to that person. And then she's going to have to go to the Senate and certify the election. And
which she will do.
And,
yeah, she'll do that.
And I'm a little concerned about an election in which half the country was conditioned to believe that the person who just won the national popular vote is going to be a dictator, eliminate the Constitution, and create a bloodbath, and so on and so forth. So,
all right, as we said, some key states have not been officially called, so stand by for a key race alert. All right, we are waiting still for the official calls from Arizona, Nevada, Michigan, and Wisconsin. You can see where the result stands right now in Arizona with 11 electoral votes up for grabs. Donald Trump with a 48,000 vote lead at this point, 55% of the vote in. But again, he is ahead there by 2.5 points. In Nevada, 6 electoral votes up for stake. Donald Trump ahead by some 57,000 votes there, almost 5%. That's with 88% in. Again, both Arizona and Nevada were states that Joe Biden won 4 years ago. If these results hold, they would be flips for Donald Trump. The same is true in Michigan with 15 electoral votes. Donald Trump there up by 230,000 votes with 86% in. This was a state Joe Biden won by more than 100,000 votes. So a major flip perhaps in store in Michigan. Finally, in Wisconsin with 10 electoral votes, Donald Trump ahead by more than 107,000 votes at this point. Wisconsin's a state that's always very close, within 10, 20, 30,000 votes in elections since the year 2000. That 107,000 vote lead with 96% in seems very large, although we are still waiting for a few more votes to be counted there before we have an official call. Let's take a look at what that means as far as the electoral map. Donald Trump has 266 electoral votes at this point. He only needs 270 to win. So he is a state or two away at this point from the official call that he will be the 47th president of the United States. Vice President Kamala Harris currently at 205 electoral votes. Again, no official call just yet, but it does seem very close, perhaps even inevitable.
All right. John Berman, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Casey. Stand by for a CNN projection. All right, we do have breaking news. CNN is ready to make a projection in New Jersey. CNN now projects that Vice President Harris will carry the state of New Jersey. You can see she's some 200,000 votes ahead right now. Less than 5 points ahead. She will get New Jersey's 14 electoral votes. What's surprising is that it's taken us until, what is it, 4:35 a.m. Eastern time to call New Jersey. It's stunning, in fact, that it has taken this long. One of the biggest surprises is how well Donald Trump has done in some of the bluer states that we're used to. We will talk about that extensively, but right now, Kamala Harris, we do project, will win New Jersey and its 14 electoral votes. Just in terms of where that puts the electoral map right now, that gives her 219 electoral votes, but the big important number is the one on top of that. Donald Trump's at 266, just 4 electoral votes away from the 270 that he needs to officially win the White House. But you can see over there on the map, those states in white are the ones that we have not projected a winner yet in. And you can see Alaska with its 3 electoral votes leaning heavily toward Trump. Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, all leaning toward Trump right now. So he is absolutely poised to get to that 270 and perhaps soon. Still, there are votes left to count. Our voting desk is tracking them all. We're going to get an update right after a quick break. You're watching CNN's special live coverage of Election Night in America. Welcome back to CNN's special live coverage, Election Night in America. Donald Trump absolutely on the brink of clinching 270 electoral votes and the White House. But control of Congress is also at stake here. CNN has already projected the Senate for the Republicans, but still some key Senate races are still outstanding. We are lucky to have Jessica Dean tracking it all. Jessica, what's the latest?
All right, let me walk you through some of these key race alerts that we have been following as this night has gone on. And these are in the blue wall states that we've paid so much attention to. So let's start first in Pennsylvania, where you see Dave McCormick, the Republican, leading the incumbent Senator Bob Casey, 49.2 to 48.2. That's with 95% of the vote in. Look, this was a seat Democrats certainly hoping to hang on to. Dave McCormick, you'll remember, ran last time in the primary against Mehmet Oz. He did not win, so this is his second try at it. Let's take a look at our next state here, Michigan, where you'll see Mike Rogers leading Alyssa Slotkin, a current representative, at 48.5 to 48.4. Just a razor-thin margin there in Michigan, with 91% of the vote in. And also in Wisconsin, where you have Eric Hovde leading the incumbent Democrat Tammy Baldwin, 49.8% to 48.1%. Again, 94% of the vote in there. Again, all 3 of those would be pickups for Republicans who already control the House. Because take a look at the Senate. The balance of power with Republicans at 51 to Democrats at 41. They've already picked up 2 seats tonight. So now the question is, John, will they continue to pick up more seats? That is what we're tracking. Again, all 3 of those blue wall states, should they go Republican, would be pickups for the Republicans.
Yeah, very close, though, especially in Michigan right now. The question is, how long are Donald Trump's coattails there? We could find out in the next several minutes or hours, because the former president appears to be close to crossing 270 electoral votes, the threshold he needs to win. Stay with us. Our special live coverage continues right after this. Stand by for a key race alert. All right, as we just said, 4 states, Arizona, Nevada, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Still at this point, CNN has not made projections there, but let's walk through them one by one. In Arizona, with 11 electoral votes up for grabs, Donald Trump is ahead by some 50,000 votes, 48,000, with 55% of the vote in. Still a lot of votes to be counted there, but Donald Trump ahead. In Nevada, Donald Trump is ahead by 57,000 votes, which is a pretty sizable margin in a fairly small state. 89% of the vote in there. 6 electoral votes up for grabs. A fairly comfortable lead at this moment in Nevada. In Michigan, 15 electoral votes up for grabs. Trump with a 120,000 vote lead now. That actually has just grown over the last few minutes. 94% of the vote in. We will check very shortly to see where some of that new vote just came in. And in Wisconsin, 10 electoral votes up for grabs. Donald Trump ahead by 110,000 votes, 97% of the vote in. One important thing to remind you, every state you're looking at right there, states that Joe Biden won 4 years ago, states that Donald Trump is now leading in. Any one of these states at this point could put him up on top of the 270 electoral votes he needs to win the White House. Let's take a look right now at that math. You can see right now Donald Trump already has 266 electoral votes, Vice President Harris at 219. So practically any state still on this map, save Alaska now, would put him over the top, 270, and he is leading in almost all of these states, save New Hampshire and Maine at this point. So this night into the morning, very much in Donald Trump's favor. All right, this is CNN special live coverage, election night in America. Stand by for a key race alert. And these are the races we're still watching, even though Donald Trump clearly ahead in all four right now. Any one of these states would put him over 270 electoral votes, what he needs to win. You can see he is winning by 50,000 votes in Arizona. He's winning by 57,000 votes in Nevada, up by 120,000 votes in Michigan, and 110,000 votes currently in Wisconsin. As we said, he's at 266 electoral votes right now. Any one of those four states would put him over the 270 electoral votes that he would need to officially be the president-elect of the United States. And that moment could come at this point at any time.
You've got certain credentials.
Karen, I unfortunately have to push pause here because we have reached an historic moment in this election. John Berman?
That's right, Casey. We can now project the winner of the presidential race. It is now official. CNN projects that Donald Trump has been elected president, defeating Vice President Kamala Harris and making a political comeback unlike any in modern American politics. Now, we can make this projection now because CNN projects that Donald Trump has won Wisconsin. You can see right there, currently ahead by 30,000 votes with 99% of the vote in. Mr. Trump is only the second former president in U.S. history to be reelected to the White House. He will return to office after 2 impeachments in his first term, followed by unprecedented criminal indictments and felony convictions. Mr. Trump scoring a landmark victory as he now heads back to power, leading a politically divided nation. Again, CNN projects that Donald J. Trump is elected the 47th president of the United States. Let's go over. Actually, let's just take a quick look at the wall here. We can see with Wisconsin, Donald Trump now has 276 electoral votes, Harris with 219. You need 270 to win. He is now over that mark. The 10 electoral votes in Wisconsin puts him over that threshold, and CNN now considers him the president-elect of the United States of America. All right, welcome back to our special coverage. Donald Trump will now be the next president. He will have a Republican Senate, but at this point, we can't project who will control the House of Representatives. Jessica Dean has a new projection in that fight. Jessica.
That's right, John. We have some key CNN projections in this fight for the House. Let's start first in New York. That is the place where it really fueled Republicans' thin majority in the midterms. Let's take a look. Mike Lawler hanging on to his seat in the 17th district in the House, defeating Mondaire Jones. So again, that is something Republicans certainly wanted to see. Democrats hoping to flip that seat. Let's now move to Michigan. We're going to go to the 7th district. This was Alyssa Slotkin's seat. She's, of course, running for the Senate. And for this one, Tom Barrett picking this one up. This is a Republican pickup in the fight for the House. Let's go to the 8th district in Michigan. This is Dan Kildee's seat. He's retiring. This one is going to stay Democratic. Kristen McDonald-Rivet defeating Paul Jung in that race in the 8th district in Michigan. And in Wisconsin, the 3rd district. Let's take a look at this. You see Derek Van Orden winning there, the incumbent. So the Republicans keep that seat. And as I said, a lot of eyes now on the House. Will it become a check for President Trump as he takes office with a Republican Senate? Or will it stay Republican and make the Congress kind of a glide path for a lot of his legislation? This is the balance of power as it currently stands. Again, the magic number is 218 to control the House. Right now, Republicans sitting at 201 with 5 pickups so far. The Democrats at 177 with 2 pickups, 57 seats remaining. One thing to remember as we continue to get this data, a lot of these seats that they're hoping to flip, Democrats, are out in California. And, John, of course, that's going to take a while. They are notoriously slower in counting their ballots.
Yeah, I will say, though, those 5 Republican pickups makes it a lot harder for the Republicans to lose control and the Democrats to take back control, which is something the Democrats would love at this point. Some sign of success in this morning. Thank you so much, Jessica. Just a huge moment for the country. Donald Trump, as of minutes ago, has been elected the next president of the United States. You are watching CNN special live coverage, so stay with us. Donald Trump will be the 47th president of the United States. Welcome to CNN's special live coverage. If you were just waking up with us, you've missed a lot. It's no longer CNN election night in America. It is CNN election day in America. And as we hit dawn across the country, Donald Trump has now crossed the 270 vote threshold in the Electoral College, and he did it thanks to Wisconsin. Welcome back to our special live coverage. CNN now election day in America. Jessica Dean has a new projection in the U.S. Senate races. Jessica.
Yes, we do. CNN can now project that Tim Sheehy will be the next senator from Montana. Take a look at this. Tim Sheehy defeating Jon Tester, the Democratic incumbent there in Montana. This is a pickup for Republicans as they now seek to expand their new majority in the U.S. Senate, flipping control of the U.S. Senate in this election. Tester, long considered the most vulnerable incumbent that was running for re-election. You see there 52.8% to 45.4%. Sheehy was recruited by Montana's junior senator, Steve Daines, who's the head of the NRSC. He's a businessman who's never held elected office before. What does this mean for the balance of power? Well, we know that Republicans are already going to be controlling the U.S. Senate. Right now, they are holding 52 seats with 3 pickups, this being one of them. Democrats with 42 seats, including 1 independent. There are 6 seats that are outstanding, a lot of those still in the blue wall states that we have been watching overnight as well.
All right, welcome back. This is CNN special live coverage, Election Day in America. And we do have a key race alert in the battle for the Senate in the key battleground state of Michigan. Jessica Dean has that.
Yes, we do. Let's look at this key race alert. All right, let's look at Michigan, where we have Elissa Slotkin now just ever so slightly leading Mike Rogers. You'll remember this is an open seat that the Democrats are hoping to hang on to. Elissa Slotkin, former CIA analyst, had been in the House of Representatives running against Mike Rogers, who formerly had been in the House of Representatives and had also worked in law enforcement. Again, 96% of the vote in. We know that the Republicans have taken control of the Senate, currently with 52 seats, including 3 pickups. Now, this would not be a pickup for Democrats. This would be them holding on to a seat. But at this point, Democrats, of course, hoping for any good news that they could get in the Senate. The Michigan race still outstanding, but the alert here is that Elissa Slotkin is leading ever so slightly, again, with just 96% of the vote in. John will continue to watch this race and other blue wall states still outstanding as well.
Donald Trump cruises to victory, winning a second term and capping off an astonishing political comeback. Trump dismantled the so-called blue wall, seizing on the economy and immigration to stifle Kamala Harris's abbreviated campaign. Let's take a closer look at his road to 270, and we can see it right there. You see in the Electoral College map all those red states for Trump, the blue states going to Kamala Harris. Right now, Trump has 276 electoral college votes. You need 270, so he will be the next president of the United States, Kamala Harris, with 223 electoral college votes right there. You can see it, what's going on. In the popular vote, Trump also wins, and this is significant. The popular vote, he's got 51%. Kamala Harris, 47.4%. This is with 89% of the estimated vote is in. He's up by more than 5 million votes. He has more than 71 million votes. She has more than 66 million votes. So Trump wins the popular vote, wins the electoral map, a major, major win for the former president of the United States. By the way, there are still several battleground states still uncalled. Stand by for a key race alert. All right, take a look at these states. We're still counting votes in these states. In Michigan right now, 15 electoral votes. With 98% of the estimated vote is in, Trump is ahead, 49.8% to 48.2%. He's ahead by some 93,000 plus votes in Michigan. In Arizona, with 11 electoral votes, 63% of the estimated vote is in. Trump is ahead 51.9% to 47.2%. He's up by a little bit more than 100,000 votes in Arizona. In Nevada, Trump is ahead there as well. 88% of the estimated vote is in. He has 51.5%. Kamala Harris has 46.8%. He's up by nearly 60,000 votes in Nevada, which has 6 electoral votes. Stand by for a key race alert right now. All right, let's take a look at some of these states where we still haven't made a projection. In Michigan right now, 15 electoral votes, 99% of the estimated vote is in. Donald Trump maintains a lead, 49.8% to 48.3%. His lead is a little bit more than 83,000 votes in Michigan right now. In Arizona, another key state, 11 electoral votes, 63% of the estimated vote is in. Trump has 51.9%. Kamala Harris, 47.2%. He has a lead of a little bit more than 100,000 votes over Kamala Harris in Arizona. In Nevada, where the 89% of the estimated vote is in, Trump maintains the lead, 51.7% to 46.6%. His lead is almost 65,000 votes in Nevada with its 6 electoral votes. All right, Congressman, I want you to stand by for a second. We have a projection we want to make right now. We have a CNN projection that's going on in Michigan. Take a look at this right now. CNN projects that President-elect Donald Trump will win the state of Michigan and its 15 electoral votes. It's another important sign of just how sweeping his win has been. This is the third of the so-called blue wall states to be won by Trump after Pennsylvania and Wisconsin both went his way. Trump won them 8 years ago, but lost those states to Joe Biden back in 2020. Let's take a closer look at the numbers right now. We'll show you what we have. We have a CNN projection for you right now. Take a look at this. CNN projects that Tammy Baldwin, the senator from Wisconsin, Democrat, will be reelected. She'll defeat the Republican challenger, Eric Hovde. Tammy Baldwin, the Democrat incumbent, will win the Senate seat in Wisconsin. An important win for the Democrats right now. Tammy Baldwin has been a fixture in Wisconsin politics since back in 1992 when she was first elected to the state's legislature. But this was a very, very tight race, and let's take a look a bit closer at the results right now. If we see with 99% of the estimated vote is in, Tammy Baldwin, the incumbent Democrat, with 49.4% to Eric Hovde's 48.5%. She's winning by some 27,477 votes right now. A big win for the Democrats in the state of Wisconsin. Tammy Baldwin reelected to the Senate. An important win for the Democrats. We have another CNN projection for you right now. In the important state of Michigan, CNN now projects that Democrat Elissa Slotkin will win her Senate race against Republican Mike Rogers. This is a critical win for Democrats who've lost control of the Senate. In any case, she will succeed Democratic Senator Debbie Stabenow, who's retiring. Take a look at the numbers. We'll put them up on the screen. There you see him right there. Lisa Slotkin with 48.6%. Mike Rogers, 48.3%. 16,494 votes. She's ahead. Slotkin's ahead of Mike Rogers by, that's what, 97% of the vote now in.
Dana, thanks very much. John just mentioned the House. So we're going to go to CNN's Manu Raju, who has a CNN projection to bring us in two key House races. Manu?
Yeah, Anderson, CNN can now project a Republican pickup in the race for the House, representing the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania. Republican GOP State Rep Ryan McKenzie defeating the incumbent Democratic Congresswoman Susan Wild in that district. It was a district that Joe Biden narrowly carried in 2020, a bellwether district and a big GOP pickup. We also have a prediction out of New Mexico, where there's a Democratic hold in that race. Gabriel Vasquez, the incumbent Democratic congressman, holding on to his seat, fending off a challenge from Republican Yvette Herrell in that race.
Yep. All right. Thank you very much, Caitlin and Kristen. And let's go now to Manu Raju, because on this issue of the balance of power, he's got another projection.
Yeah, that's right, Aaron. In the race for control of the United States House, CNN can now project the Democrats will hold a seat in a closely watched district in Central Virginia, the 7th Congressional District. Eugene Vidman, the Democrat, defeating the Republican Derek Anderson in that closely watched race. Vidman, a former legal advisor in the National Security Council, whose brother actually played a key role in the first Trump impeachment. Eugene Vidman beating Derek Anderson in that key race.
Indeed. Abby and Jeff, thanks so much. And a little housekeeping now. CNN can now project the Vice President, Kamala Harris, will win the state of Maine and 3 of the state's 4 electoral votes. Remember, Maine, like Nebraska, awards its electoral votes according to congressional district as well. Donald Trump is picking up that 1 electoral vote by winning Maine's 2nd congressional district. That brings Mr. Trump's total electoral votes as of this hour to 292. Vice President Harris's total is, as of right now, is 226. There are a few states that remain uncalled as of now. All right, Anderson, thanks so much. Yeah, we have some more unfinished business. CNN can project that Donald Trump will be the winner of the state of Alaska with its 3 electoral votes. Donald Trump wins Alaska. As you can see on the board there, that only leaves Nevada and Arizona uncalled by CNN as of right now. Donald Trump's big win last night, of course, smashed the Democratic coalition. So we're going to dig into our exit poll data for clues next as to where some key voting blocks are shifting with Trump heading back to the White House. Plus, we're going to track those outstanding contests in the fight for control of the House of Representatives. Stay with us. And welcome back to our special coverage. Election night in America continued more than 2 years after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade and left the issue up to the states. Voters in 10 states cast ballots on whether to cement reproductive rights, abortion rights, in their state constitutions. CNN projects that voters in Maryland and Colorado and Montana all enshrined a constitutional right to abortion in their states' constitutions. In Nevada and Arizona, voters passed measures protecting abortion, legal abortion, up to the point of viability, which rejected the 15-week ban in the state of Arizona. Missouri voters also narrowly rejected their state's near-total ban, establishing a constitutional right up to the point of fetal viability. New York enshrined a broad set of rights into the Constitution, including the right to an abortion. In Nebraska, 2 dueling measures were on the ballot regarding abortion. Voters there keeping the state's ban on abortions after 12 weeks of a pregnancy and rejecting a separate, more expansive measure. A Florida ballot amendment also fell short. It failed to meet the 60% majority needed for passage, keeping in place a 6-week ban there. In South Dakota, that state's near total ban will also remain in place. Dana?
CNN has some brand new projections we can now make in the House. Democrats have just picked up a seat in a hotly contested race in New York 19. Democrat Josh Riley has taken down Republican there, Mark Molinaro. Those are some seats that House Republicans were concerned about. I should note there are 2 Republican holds that we are learning about tonight. In Nebraska, too, Don Bacon has held on to his seat there that was in jeopardy. And in Pennsylvania's 10th district, Scott Perry has also held on. I should note there are 2 Democrat holds in California and Oregon. Right now, that leaves the balance of power in the House of Representatives. Republicans 212 seats, Democrats 199. It's that sound again. At this hour, we have 2 new projections that we can make in House races. CNN now projects that Democrat Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez will win in Washington State's 3rd congressional district. That was a tough seat that she was holding on to. Also, Democrat Mark Takano holds on to his seat in California's 39th. Checking in on the balance of power as it stands right now in the House, which is what everyone is watching so closely, CNN can project Republicans are just 5 seats away from having the majority. Right now, Democrats currently sit at 204, Republicans at 213. Meanwhile, over in the Senate, Republicans now have the majority there, as CNN can now project Democratic incumbent Jackie Rosen has defeated her Republican challenger Sam Brown in Nevada. Right now, that leaves 2 key Senate seats still up for grabs. That includes in Pennsylvania, one that we've been watching very closely. Republican challenger Dave McCormick is taking on and ahead right now of Democrat incumbent Bob Casey. Meanwhile, over in Arizona, the Democrat there, Ruben Gallego, ahead of Republican Kari Lake. That lead, though, has been shrinking with a lot more votes still to be counted. We're watching all the numbers very closely.
You are in the CNN Newsroom. I'm Pamela Brown in Washington, and we begin tonight with a CNN projection. CNN now projects that Donald Trump will win the state of Arizona. This is the last race of the presidential race for CNN to call, and gives him a final total of 312 electoral votes. And we also have another CNN projection for you right now. In Arizona, Democrat Greg Stanton has won re-election. He beats Republican Kelly Cooper in Arizona's 4th district, a critical hold for Democrats as they try to win the House after losing the White House and Senate to Republicans.
We have a major projection in a key Senate race. CNN can project that Democratic Congressman Ruben Gallego will beat Republican Kari Lake for one of Arizona's Senate seats. That gives Democrats another seat in the Senate, a seat previously filled by independent Kyrsten Sinema. The Republicans are very much still in power there. Gallego has been in Congress for 10 years. Lake previously ran for Arizona governor in 2022, narrowly losing to Governor Katie Hobbs. She's a controversial figure whose election denials haunted her Senate run. This now means there will be 52 Republicans and 47 Democrats in the Senate. The Pennsylvania Senate race is still outstanding.
Right now, CNN has a major projection to bring you in the battle for control of Congress. 1 week and 1 day after Election Day, CNN can now project that Republicans will hold on to control of the House of Representatives. This is based on projections that we've made combined with an analysis of results from House races across the country. In Arizona's 6th district, we've determined that Congressman Juan Ciscomani will win re-election. And in California's 41st, Ken Calvert, the Republican incumbent, will also win re-election. That gives Republicans the magic number of 218 seats needed to control the chamber.
So Democrats failing to win enough seats to reclaim the majority. And this is an important development for the GOP, which, as we said, we can now say will control both chambers of Congress and the White House. And that gives President-elect Trump the ability to carry out his agenda, assuming that he keeps all of the members of his party in line, because it is going to be a slim majority there.